Hey there, sleepy souls. Tonight we're slipping into something warm and familiar, like your favorite sweater on a cold night. We're heading to Central Perk, where the coffee is always brewing and the stories never end. But this isn't just any story. This is the kind of tale that wraps around you like a gentle hug, the kind that lets your mind wander to a place where love finds its way home, even when it takes the scenic route. You know those nights when your thoughts won't settle, when you're staring at the ceiling counting sheep that refuse to cooperate? Well, consider this your invitation to stop counting and start dreaming, because tonight we're diving into a story about Ross and Rachel, about second chances, and the beautiful mess that love can be. And yes, it's going to be as cozy as it sounds. Now, before you get comfortable, and I mean really comfortable, sink into those pillows and let your shoulders drop. Take a breath that fills your entire chest. Hold it for just a moment and let it go slowly. We're about to embark on a journey that's equal parts nostalgia and pure comfort. This isn't about drama or heartbreak. This is about the quiet moments, the stolen glances, and the way love sometimes whispers instead of shouts. The thing about Ross and Rachel is that their story never really ended, did it? Even when the cameras stopped rolling, even when the last episode aired, something about their connection lingered in our hearts, like the scent of coffee beans on a Sunday morning. Tonight, we're visiting them in a world where time moves differently, where conversations happen in soft tones, and every moment feels like it was painted with watercolors. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to follow Ross and Rachel through an evening that feels both ordinary and magical. The kind of evening where nothing earth-shattering happens, but everything important does. You'll hear the gentle murmur of their voices, feel the warmth of the apartment lights, and maybe, just maybe, you'll drift off somewhere between their laughter and the sound of rain against the windows. This story belongs to that golden hour just before sleep, when reality blurs at the edges and anything feels possible. When Ross looks at Rachel like she's the only person in the room, and when Rachel smiles at Ross like she's remembering why she fell in love with him in the first place. It's tender without being overwhelming, romantic without being complicated, and peaceful in all the ways that matter. See, the evening begins on a Thursday in October, when the leaves are turning amber and the air carries that crisp promise of autumn. Rachel has just finished organizing her closet, a task that somehow took 3 hours and involved trying on at least 7 different outfits that she ultimately decided against. Her apartment smells like vanilla candles and that expensive perfume she saves for special occasions, though tonight isn't particularly special. Or maybe it is, in the way that ordinary evenings sometimes surprise you. She's wearing her favorite sweater, the soft blue one that Ross once said brought out her eyes, though she'd never admit that's why she chose it. Her hair falls in loose waves around her shoulders, and she's barefoot on the hardwood floor, padding around her apartment with the kind of contentment that comes after a long day of small accomplishments. The knock on her door comes at exactly 7:30, gentle and tentative, the way Ross always knocks when he's not sure if he's interrupting something. Rachel pauses at the mirror in her hallway, not to check her appearance, but to take one of those deep breaths that steadies the butterflies. Because even after all these years, even after everything they've been through, Ross still makes her heart skip in that wonderful, terrifying way. When she opens the door, he's standing there with his hands in his pockets, that familiar half smile playing at the corners of his mouth. He's wearing his brown leather jacket over a simple white t-shirt, and his hair is slightly messed from the autumn wind. There's something about the way the hallway light catches his face that makes Rachel remember why she used to stare at him during their high school chemistry classes, back when love was just a word she'd read about in books. "Hi," he says, and his voice carries that gentle nervousness that somehow makes everything feel more real. "Hi yourself," Rachel replies, stepping aside to let him in. And there's music in the way she says it, like she's singing a song only he can hear. The apartment feels different with Ross in it, warmer somehow, like turning on a lamp in a room that was perfectly fine in the shadows, but suddenly glows with possibility. He notices the candles, the way she's arranged the throw pillows on her couch, the soft jazz playing from her stereo. It's not that she's trying too hard. It's that she's trying just enough to show she cares. They settle onto her couch with cups of tea that steam gently in the lamplight. Ross sits at one end, Rachel at the other, their socked feet almost touching in the middle, close enough that if one of them moved just slightly, they'd be connected. The conversation flows like honey, sweet and unhurried, covering everything and nothing. Work stories that aren't really about work, memories that surface like bubbles in champagne, observations about the weather that somehow become profound when filtered through their shared understanding. Rachel tells him about the elderly woman who comes into her store every Tuesday to buy a single flower, always a different kind, always with exact change, counted out in quarters and dimes. Ross tells her about the new exhibit at the museum, how he spent an hour explaining sedimentary layers to a group of third graders who asked if dinosaurs had belly buttons. Their laughter mingles with the soft music, creating a soundtrack that feels like coming home. Outside, the first drops of rain begin to tap against the windows, gentle at first, then building into a steady rhythm that wraps around the apartment like a lullaby. The sound seems to draw them closer, not physically, but emotionally, as if the weather has given them permission to sink deeper into this moment, to let their guards down in the way that rain somehow always encourages. Ross watches Rachel as she talks, notices the way she gestures with her hands when she gets excited, the way her eyes light up when she's remembering something funny. There's a strand of hair that keeps falling across her face, and every time she tucks it behind her ear, he feels his heart do that little flip that reminds him he's never really gotten over her. Not completely, not in the way that matters. Rachel finds herself studying the lines around Ross's eyes, the ones that appeared gradually over the years, and somehow make him more handsome, not less. She loves the way he laughs at her stories, even the ones that aren't particularly funny, and the way he really listens, not just waiting for his turn to speak, but actually absorbing what she's saying like it matters, like she matters. The tea grows cool in their hands as they talk, forgotten in the pleasure of reconnection. This isn't about rekindling old flames or rehashing old arguments. This is about two people who have known each other in all their forms, who have seen each other at their best and worst, and somehow still choose to sit here on this couch in this moment, sharing stories and comfortable silences. Time moves differently when you're wrapped in conversation that feels like coming home. Minutes stretch into something more luxurious, more forgiving. The rain continues its gentle percussion against the glass, and the candles burn lower, casting dancing shadows on the walls that seem to celebrate this quiet intimacy. Ross finds himself telling Rachel about the book he's been reading, something about ancient civilizations that he knows she's not particularly interested in. But she listens anyway, asking questions that show she's paying attention, that she cares because he cares. And Rachel tells him about the cooking class she's been taking, how she finally made a souffle that didn't collapse. And Ross looks at her like she's just announced she's discovered a cure for something important. These are the moments that matter, the ones that happen between the big events, in the spaces where real life actually lives. Not the dramatic declarations or the grand gestures, but the simple act of two people choosing to share their evening, their thoughts, their comfortable presence with each other. The conversation begins to take on that dreamy quality that happens when two people stop performing and start simply being. Ross finds himself watching the way Rachel's fingers trace the rim of her teacup, an absent gesture that somehow speaks volumes about her contentment. There's something hypnotic about these small movements, the way she tilts her head when she's thinking, the soft smile that plays at her lips when she catches him looking. "Do you remember?" Rachel says, her voice taking on that gentle cadence that means she's about to share something precious. "That night, we got caught in the rain outside the Natural History Museum. We were supposed to meet Monica and Chandler, but the storm came out of nowhere." Ross's eyes warm with the memory. "We stood under that tiny awning for what felt like hours. You were wearing that yellow dress, the one with the little flowers, and you kept complaining that your hair was going to be ruined." "It was ruined," Rachel laughs. But it's the kind of laugh that holds affection for past versions of themselves. "But you said something about how rain was just nature's way of making everything more beautiful. And I thought you were just being Ross, all scientific and philosophical. Was I wrong?" Ross asks. And there's something in his voice that makes the question about more than just rain and yellow dresses. Rachel looks at him then, really looks at him, in that way that seems to see past all the years and complications to something essential and true. "No," she says softly, "you weren't wrong. The rain outside has settled into a steady rhythm, the kind that makes you grateful to be inside, warm and safe and surrounded by gentle light." Ross shifts slightly on the couch, and his movement brings him just a little closer to Rachel. Not intentionally, not in a way that suggests anything other than the natural gravitation that happens when two people are completely comfortable in each other's presence. Rachel draws her legs up under her, settling deeper into the cushions. The movement is unconscious, the way she might adjust herself when reading alone. Except she's not alone, and somehow that makes it more intimate, this casual comfort in his presence. Her sweater has slipped off one shoulder, revealing the delicate line of her collarbone, and she doesn't bother to adjust it because this is Ross, and he's seen her in all her forms, all her states of undress and vulnerability. "I've been thinking about time lately," Ross says, his voice taking on that contemplative tone that Rachel has always loved, even when it used to drive her crazy during their more complicated years. "About how we spend so much of our lives rushing toward the next thing, the next moment, the next milestone. But nights like this, they remind me that maybe the point isn't to get somewhere. Maybe the point is just to be somewhere, really be there, with someone who matters." Rachel feels something flutter in her chest, not the desperate butterflies of new love, but something deeper, more settled, like recognition. "Ross Geller, when did you become so wise?" she teases. But her voice is tender, wrapped in admiration for this man who has somehow learned to appreciate the spaces between moments. "Probably around the time I realized that the best parts of my life weren't the big events," he says. "They were the Tuesday afternoons, in the random phone calls, in the nights when we'd all just sit around Central Perk, talking about nothing important. The candles have burned lower now, their flames dancing in the gentle air currents that move through the apartment. The light has grown softer, more golden, casting everything in that warm glow that makes ordinary moments feel touched by magic. Rachel reaches for the throw blanket that's draped over the back of the couch, unfolding it across her legs, and without thinking, she extends it toward Ross, an invitation to share the warmth. He accepts without hesitation, shifting closer so they can both be covered. And suddenly, they're sharing more than just a blanket. They're sharing breath and warmth and the kind of proximity that makes every small movement significant. Ross's arm rests along the back of the couch, not quite touching Rachel, but close enough that she can feel his presence like a gentle current. "Tell me something I don't know about you," Rachel says, turning to face him more fully. It's a game they used to play in college, back when they thought they had infinite time to learn each other's secrets. But people change, grow, develop new depths, and there are always more layers to discover. Ross considers this, his fingers absently playing with a loose thread on the blanket. "I've started keeping a journal," he admits. "Nothing profound, just little observations about the day. Things that made me smile, conversations that stuck with me, moments I don't want to forget." Ross Geller keeps a diary, Rachel says, with mock surprise, but her eyes are soft with affection. "Journal," he corrects with a laugh. "Very scientific and masculine journal." "What did you write about today?" she asks. And there's genuine curiosity in her voice, the kind that makes Ross feel seen in a way that's both comfortable and thrilling. "Today," Ross says, looking at her with an expression that's both shy and certain, "I wrote about anticipation, about how sometimes the best part of any experience is the moment right before it begins, when anything feels possible." Rachel feels her breath catch slightly, understanding the weight of what he's not quite saying, the way he's describing this very moment, this very evening, this space they've created together on her couch while the rain falls outside. There's something building between them, not urgent or demanding, but patient and sure, like a tide that knows exactly where it's going. The apartment seems to pulse gently around them, the candle flames flickering in rhythm with their breathing, the rain providing a constant, soothing backdrop that makes the rest of the world feel very far away. This is their bubble, their pocket of time where nothing else matters except the soft space they've carved out between conversation and comfortable silence. Ross tells her about the planetarium show he's been working on, how he's trying to make the stars accessible to people who have never thought to look up. Rachel shares her latest work story about helping a nervous teenager find the perfect outfit for her first job interview, how the girl's face lit up when she saw herself in the mirror. These aren't earth-shaking revelations, but they're the stuff of real life, the daily kindnesses and small victories that actually matter when you strip away everything else. Their voices have grown softer as the evening has progressed, as if they're unconsciously matching the gentle mood of the rain and the flickering candlelight. Rachel finds herself studying Ross's hands as he talks, the way he gestures to emphasize a point, the long fingers that used to trace patterns on her back during lazy Sunday mornings in another life. She remembers those hands, their gentleness, their certainty, and feels a warmth that has nothing to do with the blanket they're sharing. Ross notices the way Rachel's eyes have grown heavy, not with tiredness, but with contentment, the kind of relaxation that comes from being exactly where you want to be with exactly the person you want to be with. Her hair has dried into soft waves that catch the candlelight, And when she laughs at something, he says, her whole face transforms with joy. And he's reminded why he fell in love with her smile before he even knew her name. The conversation begins to ebb and flow in longer, more luxurious waves. Comfortable silences stretch between words, filled with the sound of rain and the soft crackle of candle wicks. Ross finds himself thinking about how rare this is, this kind of perfect contentment, this feeling of being exactly where you belong. Not the desperate clinging of early romance, but the deep satisfaction of mature love, love that has been tested and has survived and has grown stronger for the testing. Rachel shifts again, this time letting her head fall against the couch cushion, her face turned toward Ross. From this angle, she can see the way the candlelight plays across his features, softening the lines around his eyes, making him look both familiar and mysteriously new. There's something about the quality of light that makes this moment feel suspended, like they've stepped outside of normal time into something more precious, more fragile, more worth savoring. Ross, she says, his name barely more than a whisper, and there's something in the way she says it that makes him turn toward her completely, giving her his full attention in that way he's always been able to do, making her feel like the only person in the world who matters. Yeah, he responds, his voice equally soft, equally full of possibility. I'm really glad you're here, she says, and it's such a simple statement, but it carries the weight of everything they've been through together, everything they've learned about love and loss and second chances, and the beautiful complexity of two people who somehow keep finding their way back to each other. Way back to each other. He reaches out then, slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wants to. But she doesn't. His fingers find that strand of hair that's been falling across her face all evening, tucking it gently behind her ear. His hand lingers there for a moment, cupping her cheek with the kind of tenderness that speaks of years of knowing exactly how to touch her, how to hold her like she's something precious. I'm glad I'm here too, he whispers back, and the words hang in the air between them like a promise, like the beginning of something they both recognize, but neither wants to rush. This isn't about urgency or passion or the frantic need to claim each other. This is about settling into love the way you settle into a warm bath, slowly, gratefully, with complete appreciation for the comfort it brings. The rain outside has intensified slightly, drumming against the windows with renewed purpose, as if the weather itself is conspiring to keep them cocooned in this perfect bubble of intimacy. Rachel can hear her neighbor's television through the thin walls, the distant murmur of other people's lives carrying on around them, but it all feels very far away, like background music to their own private symphony. Ross's thumb traces a gentle line along Rachel's cheekbone, and she closes her eyes at the touch, leaning into his palm like a cat seeking warmth. There's something about being touched with such careful attention that makes her feel more real, more present in her own skin. She's forgotten how good it feels to be handled like something valuable, to be the recipient of touch that asks for nothing but gives everything. Do you ever wonder, Rachel murmurs, her eyes still closed, savoring the feeling of his hand against her face. What would have happened if we'd figured this out sooner? If we'd been better at it the first time, or the second time, or any of the times we tried before? Ross considers this, his fingers now tracing the shell of her ear in absent, soothing circles. I used to, he admits. I used to lie awake, thinking about all the what-ifs, all the different ways our story could have gone. But lately, I think maybe we needed all those false starts. Maybe we had to learn how to love ourselves before we could really love each other. Rachel opens her eyes at this, meeting his gaze with something that looks like wonder. That's very wise, Dr. Geller. I have my moments, he says, with that self-deprecating smile she's always adored, the one that makes him look like the boy she knew in high school, and the man he's become all at once. The candles are burning even lower now, their flames smaller, but somehow more intimate, casting dancing shadows that make the apartment feel like a secret cave, hidden away from the rest of the world. Rachel shifts closer to Ross, not dramatically, but incrementally, the way flowers turn toward sunlight, drawn by something essential and life-giving. Tell me about your journal entry tomorrow, she says, settling against his side with the naturalness of water finding its level. What will you write about tonight? Ross's arm comes around her shoulders, holding her against him with the kind of certainty that suggests this is exactly where she belongs. Tomorrow, he says, his voice rumbling through his chest where her head now rests. I'll write about coming home, about how sometimes home isn't a place, it's a person. It's the sound of rain and the smell of vanilla candles and the way someone says your name like it's their favorite word. Rachel feels tears prick at the corners of her eyes, but they're happy tears, the kind that come when something beautiful happens and your body doesn't quite know how to contain all the joy. She nestles closer to Ross, breathing in his familiar scent, that combination of cologne and laundry detergent, and something uniquely him that she could identify in a crowded room with her eyes closed. Ross, she whispers against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath her cheek. Will you stay tonight? Not because of the rain, not because it's late, but just because I don't want this to end yet. I don't want to say goodbye to this feeling. His arms tighten around her, pulling her closer, and she can feel his smile against the top of her head. I thought you'd never ask, he murmurs, and there's relief in his voice, as if he'd been hoping for exactly this invitation, but hadn't dared to assume. They stay like that for a while, wrapped around each other on the couch, listening to the rain and watching the candles burn down to little pools of wax. The conversation has given way to comfortable silence, the kind that doesn't need to be filled with words, because their bodies are having their own quiet conversation, speaking in the language of shared warmth and synchronized breathing. Eventually, Rachel stirs in Ross's arms, not to leave, but to look up at him. We should probably blow out these candles before we fall asleep right here, she says, with reluctant practicality, though part of her wouldn't mind waking up exactly where they are, tangled together under the throw blanket with the morning light streaming through the windows. Probably, Ross agrees, but neither of them moves immediately. There's something perfect about this moment that they're both reluctant to disturb, as if moving might break the spell that settled over them like fairy dust. But eventually, responsibility wins out, as it usually does. Rachel extricates herself from Ross's embrace with obvious reluctance, padding around the apartment to blow out the candles one by one. Each extinguished flame seems to make the space more intimate rather than less, as if the darkness is drawing them closer together rather than apart. Ross watches her move through the apartment, noting the unconscious grace in her movements, the way she pauses to straighten a picture frame or adjust a pillow. These little gestures of care for her space speak to something nurturing in her nature, something that makes him want to protect and cherish this domestic side of her that he's seeing tonight. When the last candle is extinguished, the apartment settles into a different kind of quiet, lit only by the soft glow of the streetlights filtering through the rain-streaked windows. The storm has gentled into a steady patter, the kind of rain that promises to continue all night, wrapping the building in a cocoon of white noise that makes everything inside feel safe and separate from the outside world. Rachel returns to the couch, but instead of settling back into her previous position, she extends her hand to Ross. "Come on," she says softly. "Let's get more comfortable." He takes her hand without hesitation, letting her lead him toward her bedroom. There's nothing urgent or desperate about the movement, just the natural progression of two people who want to continue being close to each other, who want to fall asleep listening to each other breathe. Rachel's bedroom is as carefully curated as the rest of her apartment, all soft textures and warm colors that speak to her innate sense of beauty and comfort. The bed is unmade from her earlier nap, the covers turned back invitingly, and there's something about the casual intimacy of the rumpled sheets that makes Ross's chest tighten with affection. She moves to her dresser, pulling out a soft cotton t-shirt and a pair of worn pajama pants. "I think I have something that might fit you," she says, turning to face him with the clothes in her hands. "They're probably too small, but they're better than sleeping in jeans." Ross accepts the clothes with a smile, touched by her thoughtfulness, by the way she's anticipated his comfort without making a big deal about it. "Thank you," he says, and there's more gratitude in those two words than seems warranted by a simple loan of pajamas. They take turns changing in the bathroom, maintaining a sweetly old-fashioned sense of privacy that somehow makes everything more romantic rather than less. When Ross emerges in the borrowed clothes, which are indeed slightly too small, but somehow make him look younger, more vulnerable, Rachel feels her heart do that little skip again. "They suit you," she says, with a grin, admiring the way the two short sleeves reveal his forearms, the way the soft cotton clings to his shoulders. "Everything's a little tight," he admits, tugging at the hem of the shirt. "I like it," Rachel says, with a boldness that surprises them both. And Ross feels heat creep up his neck at the appreciation in her voice. They settle into bed with the careful choreography of two people who want to be close, but don't want to assume too much. Rachel slides under the covers first, leaving plenty of space for Ross. But when he joins her, they seem to naturally gravitate toward each other, drawn together by invisible threads of affection and familiarity. The bed is soft and warm, the sheets cool against their skin, and the sound of the rain against the bedroom window creates a lullaby that seems designed specifically for this moment. Ross lies on his back, one arm extended, and Rachel settles against his side as naturally as if they've been sleeping together every night for years. "This is nice," she whispers against his shoulder, her breath warm against his skin through the thin cotton of the borrowed t-shirt. "Better than nice," Ross murmurs back, his hand finding its way into her hair, fingers combing gently through the silky strands. They talk quietly in the darkness, their voices barely above whispers, sharing the kinds of random thoughts and observations that seem profound in the intimate darkness. Ross tells her about the way the museum looks when he's there alone after hours, how the dinosaur skeletons seem to come alive in the shadows. Rachel describes the feeling of walking through the city at dawn, when the streets are empty and the whole world feels like it belongs to her alone. These are the conversations that happen in the space between wakefulness and sleep, when the conscious mind relaxes its grip and allows deeper truths to surface. They talk about childhood fears and adult dreams, about the books they've read and the places they want to visit, about the small daily miracles they've learned to notice as they've gotten older. Ross's voice grows softer as he speaks, the words coming slower as relaxation takes hold. Rachel can feel the gradual loosening of his muscles, the way his breathing deepens and evens out. Her own eyelids are growing heavy, weighted by contentment in the hypnotic rhythm of rain against glass. "Rachel," Ross whispers, his voice thick with approaching sleep. Thank you for tonight, for letting me stay, for being exactly who you are." She tilts her head up to press a soft kiss to his jaw, a gesture so natural and unthinking that it feels like something she's done 1,000 times before. "Thank you for coming over, for being patient with us, with this, with whatever this becomes. Sweet dreams," he whispers, his arm tightening around her, holding her close against his side. "Sweet dreams, Ross," she whispers back, and her voice carries all the tenderness of a prayer, all the hope of a wish made on the first star of evening. The rain continues its gentle percussion against the windows, a natural metronome that seems to slow their heartbeats, to synchronize their breathing, to lull them toward the kind of peaceful sleep that only comes when you're exactly where you belong. In the soft darkness of Rachel's bedroom, wrapped in each other's arms and the sound of falling rain, they drift toward dreams that taste like second chances and feel like coming home. The last thing Rachel is aware of before sleep claims her is the steady rise and fall of Ross's chest beneath her cheek, the warmth of his hand in her hair, and the profound sense of rightness that settles over her like a blessing. This is how love should feel, she thinks drowsily, not like a storm, but like shelter from the storm, not like falling, but like landing safely in the arms of someone who will always catch you. And in the gentle space between consciousness and dreams, between the rain outside and the warmth within, Ross and Rachel surrender to sleep, to peace, to the quiet certainty that sometimes the best love stories are the ones that take their time, that understand the difference between passion and patience, between wanting and waiting, between the urgency of youth and the wisdom that comes with learning how to love well. Their dreams, when they come, are soft and formless, painted in watercolors rather than sharp lines. Rachel finds herself walking through memories that feel more like impressions, moments where Ross's laughter echoes through corridors of time she'd almost forgotten existed. She dreams of coffee shops that smell like cinnamon and possibility, of conversations that stretch like taffy in the golden light of late afternoons, of hands that know exactly how to hold hers without gripping too tight. Ross dreams in textures and temperatures, in the feeling of Rachel's hair against his cheek, in the way her voice sounds when she's telling him secrets in the dark. His sleeping mind wanders through exhibits of their shared history, displays of inside jokes and meaningful glances, artifacts of a love that has been carbon dated and found to be both ancient and eternally renewable. The night passes in layers, like sedimentary rock, forming one gentle moment at a time. Sometimes they shift in their sleep, unconsciously adjusting their positions, but never breaking contact, as if some deeper part of their beings understands that this closeness is precious, temporary, worth protecting even in unconsciousness. Rachel's hand finds its way to Ross's chest, fingers splayed over his heartbeat, while his arm remains a steady anchor around her shoulders. Around 3 a.m, the rain begins to lighten, transforming from the steady drumming that lulled them to sleep into something more delicate, more musical. The change in rhythm doesn't wake them, but it seems to deepen their rest, as if the storm has completed its work of washing the world clean and can now settle into gentler ministrations. Rachel stirs slightly around dawn, not fully awakening, but becoming aware of warmth and safety, and the unfamiliar but wonderful sensation of not being alone in her bed. Her sleeping mind registers Ross's presence, like a cat registers sunshine, with pure, uncomplicated gratitude. She nestles closer, without fully conscious intent, drawn by his warmth and the steady rhythm of his breathing. Ross's dreams begin to lighten as morning approaches, taking on the golden quality that comes just before waking. He dreams of Rachel's smile, the one she wore last evening when she told him about the souffle that didn't collapse, the one that makes her eyes crinkle at the corners and transforms her entire face into something radiant. In his dream, she's wearing that blue sweater again, the one that brings out her eyes, and she's laughing at something he said, and he feels that familiar flutter of pride at being the one who put that joy on her face. The first pale light of morning begins to filter through Rachel's bedroom curtains, not harsh or demanding, but gentle and patient. The kind of light that suggests the world is waking up slowly, without urgency. The rain has stopped completely now, leaving behind that clean, washed smell that comes after a good storm, when the air feels scrubbed and everything looks slightly more vivid than usual. Rachel is the first to wake, consciousness returning to her gradually, like sinking into a warm bath in reverse. For a moment, she's disoriented, unsure why her bed feels different, why there's weight against her side and warmth that doesn't belong to her electric blanket. Then, memory floods back, not with shock, but with a slow, spreading contentment that starts in her chest and radiates outward until even her fingertips feel happy. She opens her eyes carefully, not wanting to disturb the perfect weight of Ross's arm around her shoulders, the way her head fits into the hollow between his shoulder and chest, as if that space was designed specifically for her. In the soft morning light, his face looks peaceful, younger somehow. The worry lines that usually bracket his eyes smoothed away by sleep and contentment. Rachel allows herself the luxury of studying him in this unguarded moment, noting details she'd forgotten or never properly observed. The way his eyelashes cast tiny shadows on his cheeks, the small scar near his temple from a childhood mishap he once told her about, the way his hair sticks up slightly on one side where it's been pressed against the pillow. These imperfections, these signs of a life lived and a body that has carried him through 30-something years of existence, somehow make him more beautiful rather than less. She's careful not to move too much, not wanting to wake him yet, wanting to preserve this moment of quiet observation, this gift of seeing him completely at peace. There's something almost sacred about watching someone sleep, about being trusted enough to witness this most vulnerable state. Rachel feels the weight of that trust settling around her like a soft shawl, warm and protective and infinitely precious. Ross's breathing shifts slightly, becoming less deep, less even, and Rachel knows he's beginning to surface from sleep, even before his eyelids flutter. She watches the exact moment when consciousness returns to him, sees the slight confusion cross his features before memory reasserts itself, and his face relaxes into a slow, wondering smile. "Good morning," he whispers, his voice rough with sleep and tender with affection, and the sound of it sends little shivers of happiness down Rachel's spine. "Good morning yourself," she whispers back, unconsciously echoing her greeting from the night before, And there's something beautiful about this book ending, this gentle repetition that suggests continuity, permanence, the possibility of many more mornings, just like this one. Ross's free hand comes up to trace the line of her cheek, his touch feather-light and reverent, as if he's making sure she's real, that this isn't just an extension of the dreams that have been keeping him company all night. "How did you sleep?" "Better than I have in months," Rachel admits. And it's true. There's something about sleeping next to someone you care about that makes rest more complete, more restorative. Like I was home," Ross says simply, and the words hang in the air between them, heavy with meaning and possibility, and the kind of truth that can only be spoken in the vulnerable honesty of early morning. They lie there in the growing light, neither eager to break the spell that seems to have settled over them like morning mist. The world outside is beginning to wake up. They can hear the distant sounds of traffic, of other people starting their days. But inside Rachel's bedroom, time still moves at its own pace, unhurried and forgiving. "The rain stopped," Rachel observes, listening to the absence of the gentle percussion that accompanied their evening. Ross agrees, but he doesn't sound disappointed. The storm served its purpose, creating the perfect backdrop for their reconnection. And now the clear morning feels like a gift, a clean slate on which to write whatever comes next. Rachel shifts slightly, turning more fully toward Ross so she can see his face properly. The movement brings them even closer together, her leg sliding between his, her hand coming to rest on his chest, where she can feel the steady beat of his heart. This new configuration feels natural, inevitable, like puzzle pieces, finally finding their correct positions. "Ross," she says softly, and there's something in her voice that makes him give her his complete attention. The same quality of focus that made her feel like the only person in the room last night. "What happens now?" It's a question that could be overwhelming, loaded with implications and expectations, and the weight of their complicated history. But in the soft morning light, wrapped in each other's warmth and the lingering contentment of a perfect evening, it doesn't feel scary. It feels like possibility. Ross considers her question seriously, his thumb tracing absent circles on her shoulder as he thinks. "I don't know," he says finally, and his honesty is refreshing, free from false promises or grand declarations. "But I know I don't want to rush it. I don't want to force it into being something it's not ready to be yet." Rachel nods, understanding exactly what he means. They've tried rushing before, tried to make their love conform to timelines and expectations that weren't their own, and it never quite worked. This time feels different, slower, more organic, like something that's growing naturally rather than being constructed. "I like this," she says, gesturing vaguely to encompass their tangled limbs, the rumpled sheets, the intimate quiet of her bedroom. "I like taking our time." "Me too," Ross agrees, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead, a gesture so tender and natural that it makes Rachel's eyes flutter closed in pure contentment. They talk quietly as the room grows brighter, their voices still hushed, as if they're afraid of disturbing the peace that has settled over them. Ross tells her about the way the morning light is hitting her hair, making it look like spun gold against the white pillowcase. Rachel describes the way his eyes look in the dawn light, how they remind her of coffee with just the right amount of cream. These observations, these small compliments and gentle flirtations, feel different from the charged banter of their younger years. There's no desperation here, no sense that they need to prove anything to each other or to themselves. This is appreciation in its purest form, the simple pleasure of noticing beauty in someone you care about and being able to tell them about it. The morning continues to unfold around them, like a flower opening to the sun, slow and graceful and perfectly timed. They talk about their plans for the day, the ordinary responsibilities and small pleasures that await them. But there's no urgency to leave this cocoon they've created. No rush to return to the outside world. Ross mentions that he has a staff meeting at 11, and Rachel remembers that she promised to help Monica pick out curtains for her new apartment. These normal, everyday obligations feel strange and distant from their current reality, but not unpleasant, just different, like viewing their regular lives from a new and more peaceful perspective. I should probably go home and shower before work, Ross says, eventually, though he makes no move to leave, no attempt to extract himself from the warm tangle of their embrace. Probably, Rachel agrees, but she doesn't encourage him to go. Instead, she traces lazy patterns on his chest through the thin cotton of the borrowed t-shirt, her touch absent and soothing, the kind of casual intimacy that speaks to deep comfort with another person's body. "Rachel," Ross says, catching her hand and bringing it to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to her palm that sends warm shivers up her arm. "Can I see you again? Soon?" And there, sleepy souls, in the gentle space between question and answer, between yesterday and tomorrow, our story finds its perfect resting place. Not in grand declarations or dramatic endings, but in the quiet certainty that some love stories are worth telling slowly, worth savoring, like the last sip of perfectly brewed coffee on a lazy Sunday morning. Ross and Rachel have found their way back to each other, not through fate or coincidence, but through the simple courage to be vulnerable, to be present, to choose tenderness over fear. Let their gentle reunion carry you into dreams where second chances bloom like flowers after rain, where love whispers instead of shouts, and where every ending is really just another beginning waiting to unfold.